Welcome to Healthier and Happier Humans, episode 31. I'm Ashley McGee, and today I am super excited to have my guest, Wendi Iacobello, who's Strength for Spouses with me. Wendi, how are you today?
I am good. Thank you for having me on. And how are you feeling today?
I'm good. Other than this interview, I've actually scheduled a rest day for myself. So after
Yeah,
this, I'm gonna do some sewing, and then it's a gorgeous day. I'm in California, and I live like right next to the beach. So I'm gonna grab a lawn chair and a book, and go get some sunshine.
sounds like a great plan.
Yeah, yeah. Where are you?
I am in North Carolina. We are stationed at Fort Bragg. So
Okay.
we live in the outskirts of Fayetteville in the country. And it's a really pretty day here as well with a little bit of wind. And Sundays are usually my family day as well. So I try to limit a lot of work and I even limit putting on makeup. So that's why I have no makeup on today because it's my Sunday. It's my day of rest for my body, my face, everything. So
Love it. Love it. So, tell me a little bit about your background. You mentioned your station in North Carolina. So obviously a military spouse, but like, what has your journey been with as a military spouse? And then tell me a little bit about Strength for Spouses.
Sure. Well, I've been a military spouse for almost 5 years, and my husband and I have been together almost 7 years. So I've kind of been part of military life for 7 years, but as a military spouse, almost five. And this is our first duty station. My husband has been here his entire career, and we are supposed to PCS towards the end of this year. It will be our first one. So I'm a little sad to leave North Carolina because it is my home state. I'm very partial to North Carolina, so we'll see where we're going to end up and all of that. But we also have a baby. We have a almost 8-month-old little boy. And
Wow.
so I just became a mother last year at the age of 40. So
That's
high
amazing.
risk pregnancy, but very healthy. And, definitely going to talk about some of those things. Having a baby later in life is a great thing, but it's also can be scary when you're labeled high risk pregnancy. But taking care of yourself is very, very important. So that's a little bit about us as a military family and about Strength for Spouses. That is a blog that focuses on 4 pillars of strength. And those 4 pillars, I believe, are fitness, faith, volunteerism, and finding your purpose in each season of life that you're in. And so I try to really focus on those things, and I try to really encourage people to get involved in their communities through acts of service and volunteerism. Also to find a group, find a gym, find something to do physically that you're interested in, because I definitely believe fitness builds that resilience factor. It can help beat the blues. It beats a little bit of the stress that we feel sometimes. So it has so many perfect benefits, and also benefits mental as well as physical health. And then sprinkling a little faith in there, because when things get too heavy in our lives, that is definitely a good place to turn, I do believe. And then also finding your purpose in every season, which changes. And my season now is motherhood. So that is my primary first purpose. And then all my other hats come after that.
That's awesome. Wow. I love that because I feel like, especially with like strength, so often we forget that it's so much more than just like physical strength. And I love that you incorporate spirituality and then volunteerism, which I think is a really unique perspective. But strength of community and giving back is definitely something that like we as humans need. So I love
Mm-hmm.
that. Um,
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that right now in the times we're in. We're seeing a lot of people doing a lot of good out in the world. And I believe that's truly helps the world heal. And it can help you as well if you're going through something heavy. Just being able to give back to others does something really magical inside.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Love that. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, you mentioned that you're, a new mom, which is incredible. How has this season of your life looked different? And then especially with kind of what we're going through right now, how has that shifted your day-to-day life?
Oh, well, a lot. Being a new mom and being home with an infant can be tough sometimes. You feel a little bit isolated, so you've got to meet other mothers and still get out there and do things. And so fortunately, with some of my volunteer activities at Fort Bragg, I was able to bring my son with me before everything shut down and all of that. So it was great to be around other mothers, to be able to take my son out with me. And then also I teach stroller fitness classes at Fort Bragg. And so I was helping to bring him into the fitness realm with that, and able to bring him to work with me to do that, and meeting other mothers, trying to inspire other mothers to form a community as well and help each other through fitness, and then through making those connections and everything. So with everything that has happened, we are much more homebound than we were before. The positive part of that is forced us to slow down a little bit. And so I've been able to get my son on a pretty consistent napping schedule, because before we were on the go almost every day. Because I like to get out of the house at least once a day, so I keep my sanity as well. But we do not go out quite as much now. I definitely don't take him grocery shopping with me anymore. I try to go once my husband gets home, and I'll go at nighttime without him. But the only place I really take him is like to the local post office and stuff like that. I mean, we're very homebound, like most people, and it's really tough because you definitely need that connection as a new mother. And I've been putting my classes on virtually, so I've still been connecting with some of my mother friends at Fort Bragg through fitness, doing that virtually from home. But we definitely miss getting out there in the community and seeing everybody and being social. But I know this is just a temporary thing. And the biggest thing we can all do is pause and kind of take what we need to from this. And I think a big part of that is just slowing down, getting back to the basics, and looking at the things that sometimes we're too busy to see.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I could not agree with you more. I think, this time that we're in, it's definitely, it's interesting. And I think honestly, a lot of people are having a hard time with it because we keep ourselves busy as a coping mechanism. So we don't have to sit in our emotions or work through, whatever we have going on. And really connect with ourselves on a deep level. So I think, there's going to be a lot of healing that comes out of this time. I hope, I think others are still trying to cope in any way they can rather than, dig in.
Yeah.
But I'm really hoping a lot of people take this time to heal. So with that's awesome that you're doing your stroller classes virtually still. A question that I've been getting a lot from my audience recently, and I don't have kids yet. That's in the plan, next year. My husband's currently deployed. He's in Qatar. So, we'll live together eventually. We've never lived together. Military life, and we're dual.
Wow, yes.
But, a question that I've been getting a ton is, how do you find time to take care of yourself when you have this other human that is so reliant on you? And then also, you have your spouse that you're doing things for. How do you make sure you take some time for yourself in that kind of environment?
That's a really good question. As a new mother, I've definitely been living that, trying to figure that out these last 8 months. And what I was trying to do, what I encourage all new and seasoned mothers, is we try to fit so much into every day, thinking I'm going to be super mom and I can get this, and this done, and I can still do this and this and this. Well, I was trying to do all those things and getting really overwhelmed and frustrated because I wasn't doing anything well by trying to fit so much into every day. And so what I did was, after a talk with my husband, because you do have to make time for your spouse. When you have children, everybody says, once you have a kid, you still need to date your spouse. When you have a baby, and we don't live really close to family, even though they're in the state of North Carolina, you still have to make time for each other. And that time is really limited because the baby demands so much of us. But we sat down and put our heads together and came up with a little nightly schedule after we get our son down to bed, we decided Monday through Friday, like the work week, which nights are going to be our nights, where
Mm.
everything else gets pushed to the side and we are focusing on each other. That means phones have to be put away, whether we sit down and watch a TV program together, whether we just sit down and talk with each other. Those 2 nights a week are our nights to focus on each other. And then there's one night during the week that we have a self-care night. And whatever that looks like, whether self-care that night is me, I want to bake something in the kitchen or whatever, just taking care of myself in some sort of way, having some peace and some time to do that, not feel bad about it. And then another couple nights during the week are work nights for me, because I'm still working part-time in addition to freelance writing and the blog Strength for Spouses and everything. I do hold a part-time job. So I have to make time for all of those things. And where I went wrong, again, is trying to fit it all into every night from 7 p.m. to 9 or 10 p.m. It just wasn't working.
Yeah.
So we had to come up with a plan of what I can do to make sure I'm giving time to all of those things. And during the day, a big self-care item for me is being able to get a shower. Sometimes I don't get a shower until 4 p.m. all day, but just having a really nice, long, hot shower is a big self-care to me. And as long as I get that every day, I'm feeling like I'm doing something for me. And then again, once my husband gets home from work, he's pretty hands-on with our son and gives me some space to get dinner going in peace and doing some things like that. So it's good to have a really supportive spouse. But if you're kind of in a crunch, or your spouse is deployed and your spouse is not around and things like that, then you've got a little bit harder of a time, because you don't have that support with you, with your children. So you have to figure out between their nap times or once they're in bedtime, how are you going to divvy out that free time that you have, and making sure that self-care is a priority, because you cannot be a good mother if you're not taking care of yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. One thing I recommend a lot too is, I think we get into this habit where we have this, this mile long to-do list, and we're like, everything's a priority. But when you actually sit down, you're like, okay, no, like what in here are things that like I must get done today, and what are like nice to haves. And I've definitely gotten in the habit where like I have like my top 3, like these are the 3 things I'm going to accomplish today. And then anything beyond that are nice to haves, and sometimes the top 3 don't get accomplished either. And like, that's okay.
Right. Yeah. You have to give yourself grace. And especially during the times that we're in, for those mothers out there who are having to also homeschool their children in addition to working from home and things like that, you've got a lot on your plates. And you're going to have to prioritize. And I like what you said, these are the things I want to get done, and these are the things that can wait till later. Or I always say it's an extra bonus if this extra things get done. But
exactly. Yeah. And then it's fun too when you call it like a bonus. You're like, it's just one of those days where you're like, oh man, like I crushed it today and I got a bonus stuff done. Like,
yeah,
it's a little celebration moment.
yeah, that does make you feel good. You feel very accomplished that day. And I think for myself as a new mom, coming from being very career driven myself, I feel like I have to get all these things done every day to feel like accomplished, more than just being a mother to my son.
Yeah.
And that's another mistake that I make with myself, is just not giving myself enough grace to say, hey, I'm doing something really important today. I'm taking care of this little tiny human. I may or may not get to my list. It just depends on what kind of mood he is in today and how his day is going to go. Depends on how my day is going to go.
That's such an important reminder too, because I see so often, especially in like the military spouse community and like stay-at-home moms, when you're talking and it's like, oh yeah, like what do you do? And they'll say, oh, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. And it's like, there's no just about this. Like, that is hard work. You're raising a human. Like, that's a big deal.
It is, and it's rough when you have a baby that is very colicky. Our baby was pretty colicky for the first probably 4 to 6 months of life, and it was stressful around here.
Mhm.
But you know, to all the mothers out there holding it all down, my hat is off to you. I get it now. You know, and I just have one little tiny human. So those who have multiples and doing all the things, like, oh man, give yourself a pat on the back and some grace this week for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like through this show and like the connections I've made, it's a little self-serving because I'm really just like gathering this group of women that are already amazing mothers. So when I like enter that season of my life, I know who to call and be like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, help me. Like, what do I what do I do now?
Yes, that's important. Having all those connections and having that support system of other moms you can ask questions to, that will really definitely help you through. And for
Yeah.
those who are not in a season of parenting yet, you know, you've still got a lot going on your plates. And I know before we had children, I was just as busy as when I have now that we have a son, going out and volunteering and doing all the things. And if I were here without my son and kind of being homebound, not able to go out and do all the things, that would be really hard too. So I want
Yeah.
to make sure I put that out there because I always try to empathize with those who do not have children yet too, because people tend to think, well, your life must not be as hard. Yes, it
Mhm.
is. I was that person for a very long time without children, and you know, it can be pretty lonely not being able to get out in your community and doing things,
Yeah.
and being as active as you were before the pandemic started and all of
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm definitely kind of in that realm, especially as like an extreme extrovert and like my
that.
husband
Yeah.
being on, I'm like, I have one friend that's like my social distancing buddy because we like both telework. So like we're the only two people, like we only see each other. So like we're just gonna call this okay.
I
'Cause otherwise,
know, and
yeah.
it can be hard. I mean, it's I've talked to some of my friends around here, like, we need to meet in a parking lot for a smoothie date or something, and just like park a space away from each other, roll our
Yeah.
windows down, and hey, how you doing? Because I just
Seriously.
miss being around people so much right now. I'm also an extrovert, and it's really tough for us. We like being around people and being interacting with people all the time.
Yes, absolutely. Um, so you mentioned it sounds like you have a really great supportive like partnership with your spouse. Um,
Yes. Hmm.
so and has he I assume Army, right? Yes,
Hmm.
Corporate?
Yes.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Navy, so I like have to remember these things. Like has he deployed or you mentioned this is your first PCS?
Right. He was supposed to deploy last summer before our baby was born, and by some wonderful miracle, that did not happen.
Wow. Okay.
So I was so glad because I didn't know how I was going to do this by myself, even though military spouses do it all the time. You just never think it's going to be you. Like, no, that's not going to be me,
Right.
birthing my child alone. But no, he was here. So I'm really lucky, very blessed that he was here for the birth of our son and here to help me afterwards.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
That's super awesome. Yeah. It kind of cracked me up. I I put out a poll to my audience about like, what questions you have surrounding like health and family, and like that balance. And
Hmm.
a couple of questions that like they crack me up because I'm like, oh man, I live in this reality too. With my husband. Um, they're like, how do you get your partner to go to the doctor when
Yes.
they need to? And also like how do you get them to like understand like mental health is important? Um,
Mhm.
and I would love to hear your perspective on that, especially as someone that has, someone that's been around, that's been helping a lot. But like, is that something that you've experienced at all?
Yeah, actually it is. And you know, it is hard to get some men to go to the doctor. I'm not going to generalize. I'll say some. And my husband is no different than that generalization. He
Mm,
would not go either. And so the biggest thing for me and the biggest conversation to my husband was, our son needs you. He needs you to be here and he needs you to be healthy. So you need to go and take care of yourself so that you can be who you need to be for our son, the healthy father. for him. And when I put it in that way, he was like, yeah, you're right. I do. And so that really sunk in. And also, you know, I did nag him a lot before that,
Yeah,
but
that's
just,
usually been my approach, is just pester until it happens. The best is when he came back and he goes, so I was trying to get him to go to physical therapy. And he's like, he comes back and he's like, so the PT said you were right. I was like, I mean, well, obviously, but like, what about this time?
yeah. Oh goodness. Yes. It's definitely hard to get them to do take care of themselves and do that preventative care and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
think nagging doesn't always work, even though it's what we do, what we do best. But putting it in a way like, hey, I need you healthy for me, and your son really needs you to be around, alive, healthy,
Yeah.
in the best condition you can be. So you got to take care of yourself. And then as far as mental health goes, I mean, you know, it's a really important topic in our community right now, especially for the military spouse community.
Yeah.
It hasn't always been taken seriously, and I think with some different things that have happened in the last few years, some bullying online, things like that, it's starting to be taken more serious. And after my son was born, I definitely had a pretty rough case of postpartum depression. Not really the depression part, but more like some of the anger and stuff like that, which is where very hormonal. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're breastfeeding your baby, I was told by my physician that your hormones are not regulating every month like they do with your cycle.
Uh,
So what happens when you have your cycle every month is your hormone, estrogen and hormone levels go down. That's why you get like cranky and all this stuff. And this is how my doctor explained it to me. And he said, when you're breastfeeding your baby, those levels go down and they stay down.
oh,
They don't
interesting.
come back up until you stop the breastfeeding. So that's been really hard because I haven't been able to, go the pharmaceutical route for assistance with that. And so my husband knows from firsthand from me and watching me go through it, and figure out how I can heal from it and still take care of my son.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows how important it is, and he does. This is why we have such a supportive partnership, is because he wants to make sure that I have time to take care of myself so I can be a good mother to our son, a better wife to him. And he gives me that time. And again, he's very hands-on with our baby. Once he gets home from work, yes, he's tired, but he's very hands-on. All right, do what you need to do. Because I've been here usually 12, 13 hours with our son every day. And
Wow.
mama needs a break. So
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome though, that he's been so supportive and helpful. And do you like, have you seen, and this is really like for my own curiosity, like have you seen him grow, kind of into that space a little bit more since like he's become a dad?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. Definitely. He's amazing. Our son just adores him because he's the fun person. By the time he gets home, I'm like done entertaining our baby for the day. I'm like, I have no more in me. I don't even have
Mhm.
any more silly songs to sing today or anything. So he takes over and he's just so fun and just so lively. He's just great to be around and definitely silly. And our son loves it. He adores that. But yeah, and postpartum depression is tough, and especially depending on what route you want to take to treat it. Exercise has been a big thing for me. Getting out, getting the sun, and trying to exercise, doing something, some sort of movement daily, whether
Yes.
it's just pushing my son around the neighborhood in the stroller or something. That's been really helpful.
Yeah.
And then, just again making those lists, realizing like stop trying to put so much on myself every day,
Mhm.
because sometimes the day just doesn't go like I want it to go because maybe our son is teething and having a rough day with that. And so
Mhm.
I just have been able to give myself a lot more grace. And I think people need to do that more for themselves and not put so much pressure on yourself to get so much done every day. And again, that's why I think the times right now that we're in are a good um, way for us all to pause and think about the things that we do every day or the things that take up our time
Mhm.
pause and take a few steps back and get back to those basics of what's truly, truly important. And
Yeah.
a lot of times it's not like you were saying before, we pile all this on our plates to stay busy as a form of therapy. But,
Mhm.
when you get back to these basics and you're not able to go out and do all the things anymore, you kind of see like what's truly important. Getting
Mhm.
outside in the sunlight. I love gardening. I love watching my flowers bloom. That gives me something happy inside to see the flowers outside. And it's all these simple things, pushing my son in the swing and watching him smile and be happy. So I think, we can all learn from these times and getting back to the simple things and what's truly, truly important every day.
Yeah. Wow. I just teared up a little bit. Yeah, man, I honestly, I can't think of a better note to end on here because I think so many women, regardless of whether or not they have kids, um, I think that's really gonna resonate. And I think it's such a powerful message right now. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Um, where can people find you if they want to see more of you?
Sure. At on Facebook at Strength the number 4 in Spouses. That's where I post a lot of things going on around North Carolina, Fort Bragg, news articles and things like that. That's current in the military community. So that's kind of what Facebook is about. And then Instagram is a more personal look at me and my family and our day to day. And that's also Strength the number 4 in Spouses. I'm also on Twitter, but I'm not real hip on the Twitter game. I'm on there a little bit here and there,
Yeah,
but
I'm
I
with
would
you.
say, yeah,
I
Facebook
have
and
an account, I
Instagram.
like never use it.
Yeah, so those would be the best ways to really get some positive, good information. And on the Facebook page, I try to start every day during the work week, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Try to schedule it most of the times. Put a little quote out there, something for you to think about to get you starting the day on a positive note, thinking about some things that have to do with strength or fitness, faith, all of those 4 pillars, volunteerism, and finding your purpose.
I love it. Oh man. Well, Wendy, thank you so much for being here. I'll make sure that we have all of your links in the comments of the show notes, depending on where people are watching this, which is a variety of places. Um, but really, thank you so much for being here. You really shared some great wisdom, and I think people needed to hear this right now. So I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
You as well. All right.